All right, now that we've seen BankAccount.java, we can take a look at the sandbox runner and we can start to see how we could take some of these commands that we're sending to an instance via this user interface and actually translate that back into code. And so what I want to drive home is that this user interface is actually, it really is interacting with an instance of the class that you're working on. So for example, when we go to add a method here, like if I added a method like string uh, say hi, and it returns just the string hi. When we go to run this again, just by virtue of declaring this method in our class, we see that BankAccount, this instance now has the ability to receive a message, a method call named say hi, and it will return to us hi. And so this is a user interface that is allowing us to interact with a living instance of our class. And what's cool about this is and hopefully we put this user interface together for Comp 110 this semester. And one of the things that it hopes to illustrate is that this is how you would use it. So if you want to use the deposit method, you have to provide some extra little piece of information, an argument that corresponds to the parameter dollars and type is double in order to call this method. We're trying to make that a little bit more visual and obvious. But what's cool is we can actually, now that we're getting a little bit deeper into the semester, we can start to work within this runner, and we'll talk about what all this stuff means after spring break. But the idea is the instance that we're working with is just a brand new bank account, but we could start to do things like declare a variable whose type is bank account here, and name is bank account 0, and assign it a new bank account. So when we assign and we initialize bank account 0, a new bank account, the constructor gets called. The constructor is just saying the balance is going to be 0, and we're taking that instance that we set up and assigning it to bank account 0. And now, because we have an instance that we're working with in code, we can send, using code, some method calls to it. It's like deposit $1,000, and we can say bank account 0 dot withdraw, $25, something like this. And these are the same methods that we called by using the user interface, but now we're doing it in code. And rather than setting the instance that we're working with, like so if I tried running this right now, we would see that our balance is 0 because we're saying the user interface is going to use a new bank account. It's ignoring this one that we set up. If we wanted to say that instead of using a brand new bank account, let's use bank account 0, we would just need to assign to the instance that the user interface we use bank account 0 instead, right? So now when we run this, we should see that we're going to be interacting with this instance that we instantiated, so with bank account 0. And even though we're seeing a different name here, BA0, we have to choose that kind of arbitrarily in the user interface, but they're aliases of one another. This is the exact same instance that we set up. And so if we were to call check balance on it, we should see 975. What I want to illustrate here is that this is calling the check balance method that will return double on the bank account 0 instance, just the same as if we were to write bank account 0.check balance in code right here. So what's happening is this method call and this method call are one and the same, and we're sending it to the exact same instance. And this just returns a double, it doesn't print anything. So if we wanted to try and prove to ourselves that this code was running, we could put print line around this. And we'll see that when we run this code, before the window even pops up, because what makes the window pop up is what happens here. So before the window even pops up, we'll see that the bank account balance gets printed, and then we'll be working with this instance that we started setting up here. Right? So we run this, and there's 975, and then here's our user interface, and if we check the balance, we see that these are one and the same. The changes that we make to an instance after our program is running, so like if we deposited $100 more, and we checked its balance again, and we see 1,075, those are only happening in the running program to an instance that lives sort of in the running program in our memory. It's not going to change any of our code or anything like that. So when we close this and we start this back over, we'll see that we're back from the state that we started in. 975 is our is our balance to begin with, and 975 is the balance here. So if you're wanting to try using your own classes, or if you're writing some code for just practice problems, you can feel free to use the sandbox runner in lecture 10 and change the instance that it is you're working with, and this could be whatever class you wanted. We'll take a look at the person class next.